we're going to find the exact values of the remaining 6 circular functions given this one circular function. And we're going to do this by using our identities. We have our quotient identities and our reciprocal identities, and then we have our Pythagorean theorem identity. So the first thing I'm going to do is use my quotient identity for cotangent. So cotangent is cosine theta over sine theta, and that's equal to negative 23. I'm going to multiply both sides of the equation by sine theta, and when I do that I end up with cosine theta is equal to negative 23 sine theta. Now I'm going to use this equality and substitute it into my Pythagorean identity. So remember that your Pythagorean identity is that cosine squared theta plus sine squared theta equals 1. So for cosine theta, I'm going to be putting this expression in wherever I have a cosine. Going ahead and doing that, then I'm going to have negative 23 sine theta, and that's going to be squared, plus sine squared theta, and that's equal to 1. So 23 squared gives me 529 sine squared theta plus sine squared theta equals 1. Adding my sine squared thetas, I end up with 530 sine squared theta equals 1. Dividing both sides by 530 to solve for sine, I end up with sine squared theta equals 1 over 530. And then I'm going to take the square root of both sides, and when I do that, remember that you're going to have both a positive and a negative answer, and I end up with sine theta equals, the square root of 1 is 1, so plus or minus 1 over the square root of 530. The square root of 530 cannot be simplified any farther, so all I need to do is rationalize the denominator by multiplying by the square root of 530 over the square root of 530, and I end up with sine theta equals, and now I'm going to try to figure out, let's see, we'll worry about the plus and minus in a second. This becomes the square root of 530 over 530. And we're going to need to figure out what is sine in quadrant 2. Is sine theta positive or negative? It's positive, so it's going to be a positive answer. So now I've found one function other than the one that I was given. So I was given that cotangent was equal to negative 23. That's one function. This is another function. And I need to find 4 more. Well, I'm going to use this information and I'm going to plug it back up into here. So sine theta is equal to this. I'm going to put it into here and I'll find cosine theta. So cosine theta is equal to negative 23 times sine theta, which is the square root of 530 over 530. So then this becomes negative 23 square root of 530 over 530, and that's what cosine theta is equal to. And cosine theta in quadrant 2 is negative, and that's what we ended up having, is a negative value. So that's good. The remaining 6 identities, or the remaining 3 identities, we can all get from the ones that we've just started off with by using our reciprocal identities. So we have cotangents equal to negative 23. Well, we know that tangent theta is equal to 1 over cotangent theta. So it's equal to the reciprocal. So the reciprocal of negative 23, negative 1 over 23. And that is tangent theta. To find cosecant theta, it's the reciprocal of sine theta. So cosecant theta is going to be equal to, and before I rationalized, the square root of 530, and it's going to be positive just like sine was. And then secant theta is a reciprocal of cosine theta. And so I need to take the reciprocal of that, and I end up with 530 over negative 23 square root of 530. Multiplying both the numerator and the denominator by square root of 530, secant theta then becomes 530 times the square root of 530 over negative 23 times 530. So these guys will cancel out, and we're left over with negative square root of 530 over 23. So then we have the other three identities that we needed, circular identities. So this is cosecant, and then this is secant. So now we have all three of them, or all six of them. We have secant theta, cosecant theta, we have tangent, we have cosine, we have sine, and we have cotangent. The next problem I'm going to do is very similar to the last one. The difference is that we weren't told what quadrant this is, so you have to kind of figure that out. And we are between 3 pi over 2 and 2 pi. So that means that we're going to be in quadrant 4. So I usually write myself a note here so I don't forget to do that. Secant theta is a reciprocal identity for cosine. So secant theta is equal to 1 over cosine theta. So I need to take the reciprocal of that, which means 1 over 2 square roots of 5. Multiply and rationalize the denominator by the square root of 5 over 5. And we end up with cosine theta equals square root of 5 over 2 times 5, which equals the square root of 5 over 10. So knowing that we needed to take the reciprocal of this one led me to writing it this way, and then I know what cosine is, and I just had to rationalize my denominator. Once I know cosine, I can find sine. So by using my Pythagorean identity. So remember, sine squared theta plus cosine squared theta equals 1. And cosine theta is equal to the square root of 5 over 10. So we have sine squared theta plus the square root of 5 over 10 squared equals 1. Sine squared theta gives me 5 over 100. I'm going to subtract 5 100ths from both sides. 1 minus 5 over 100. And then a common denominator, 100 over 100 minus 5 over 100 gives me 95 over 100. And then I need to take the square root of both sides. When I do that, I need to make sure that I have both plus and minus. And I'm going to be finding out then that sine theta is equal to plus or minus the square root of 95 over 10. And then I need to figure out, we're in quadrant 4, so is sine positive or negative in quadrant 4? And you should be coming up with negative. So we have negative the square root of 95 over 10. So now we have cosine and sine. We had secant that was given to us, and we can find tangent. So remember that tangent theta is equal to sine theta over cosine theta. Well, we just found sine theta. That's negative the square root of 95 over 10. Cosine theta we found out earlier was the square root of 5 over 10. And then simplifying this, I'm going to show you how to simplify. You have the negative the square root of 95 over 10. Dividing by a number is the same as multiplying by the reciprocal, 10 times over the square root of 5. The 10s are going to cancel out, and we're left over with negative the square root of 95 over 5, which ends up being negative the square root of 19. So tangent theta then is negative the square root of 19. Now we can find cotangent, because remember, cotangent is the reciprocal identity for tangent. So then cotangent is going to be equal to 1 over negative square root of 19. Rationalize the denominator, and you end up with negative the square root of 19 over 19. So that's cotangent. And then the last one we need to find is cosecant, because I forgot to do that on this one. So remember that sine theta is the reciprocal identity for 1 over cosecant theta. So I'm going to take this answer and take its reciprocal. So cosecant theta is going to be negative 10 over the square root of 95. Rationalize your denominator, and you end up with negative 10 square root of 95 over 95. You have a common factor of 5. Final answer, negative 2 square root of 95 over 19, and that is for cosecant. And now we have all 6 identities. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the one that was given to us, 6.